Once at the hospital, Stanley made his way to reception. He was met by Judge Marshall. "My dear Stanley, you've made it. You've been such a good friend to our family. How did you learn about this tragedy?" It had been a few days since the accident, and I called to inquire how Ellen was doing. A nurse answered her line and invited me to come see her. She said the prognosis was seemingly dim. "Have you seen her?" "Indeed I have. It's a sight I cannot unsee, and an image I'll never be able to remove." "Are you sure you want to see her?" "I must. You and Ellen are dear friends. I should see her. Have the doctors done all they can do?" "We have the best medical care and physicians that are available in the city. They are all baffled. Her hands, her feet, and face are perfect, yet her entire body is disfigured." Judge Marshall suddenly cried. His entire body heaved up and down, but the movement in his shoulders was especially pronounced. Judge Marshall covered his face with his hand, then his blood-dotted handkerchief, and finally his blazer. He had been such a rock up to now. Tears rolled down his face. "With your permission, I want to speak to my dear friend and to the doctors." "Please, go ahead." "I warn you though, Stanley. Stanley, I urge you not to see the fullness of her condition. It is a visually damning image that once seen cannot be removed from your memory. It would be better to maintain the vibrant picture you may have in your head." Stanley walked past Judge Marshall, patted him on the shoulders, and was met by the nurse. "Are you Stanley?" "I am. Ellen has written you a letter and asked that I ensure that you alone see it. May I have it? When can I see her?" "Here's the letter. She asked not to be seen by anyone else. She wants to be remembered as she was." Someone across the room got the nurse's attention. They signaled that Ellen had an immediate request. Ellen wanted Stanley to read the letter at that very moment. "Stanley, Ellen has asked that you read the letter now." Stanley took the letter from the nurse's hand and opened it. "My dear love, you have given me 2 exceptional boys and a heart filled with passion and meaning. Doctors are not hopeful to reverse my prognosis or even fully understand what has befallen me. Stay in our sons' lives. I have the results of the paternity test in a safe deposit box along with some other special mementos and memories we've shared. I wish we could have loved openly. No need to see me. I want you to remember me as I was. All my love, Ellen." Stanley raised his voice and in a booming, aggressive tone volleyed 2 requests and demands to the nurse. "I must see her. It is not Ellen's wish to see you. I must." The nurse asked Stanley to follow her, and he did. He was taken into a sterile room where he was told and explained how to properly wash and don the required gear appropriately. It was a yellow biosuit onesie with a hardened, clear-face plastic covering to provide 180-degree visibility and breathing air supply. Stanley wondered to himself if this process was exaggerated. After several minutes of prep, he entered the viewing area. The nurse asked Stanley if he was sure he wanted to continue. "Sir, it is difficult for me to see the fullness of your friend's condition, and I have been a nurse for 20 years. Please reconsider. Take me to her." The nurse led him through one final door, and he saw Ellen in the distance. She had a robe made of a special non-stick material to cover her body. Stanley could not imagine why Ellen was even there. She looked and appeared healthy and as beautiful as he recalled from earlier in the day when he left her before heading home to his grieving wife, Emily. Stanley impatiently called out to Ellen, and she instantly turned around. "Ellen! Ellen, my love, honey, I'm here. Can you come speak with me? What's going on?" "You came. I knew you would come, but you shouldn't have." Ellen walked in the direction of Stanley and sat in a chair near the window where he was looking through to view her. "What have the doctors tried? Are they certain of your prognosis?" "They've tried everything, and yes, I've thought about it and have come to the conclusion that it's karma for the car accident and for loving a married man. Stanley, I should have owned up to the accident. I still don't know what happened to that family. Also, I dearly love a man who dearly loves me, yet we're both in love with someone else, and we're in loveless marriages." There is no blame. It's terrible about the accident. It is terrible if anything happened to the other family. What did you expect the people who love you to do? Just do nothing and lose you? What is happening to you now is not a curse. It's not karma. It's not voodoo. The car accident and this thing you are experiencing are two very separate events. I want to know what happened to that family, and I want to confess while I still have life. Nurse, I need a pen and a pad. I have one final letter to write. Stanley, make sure it gets to the family it belongs to. Please do that for me. Show me what the doctors find so incurable. Your hands, your face, and your feet look as beautiful as they did when we woke up this morning and I was next to you. Surely it can't be that bad. I will show you, but you must swear to me that you will be in the boys' lives and find the family I hurt and deliver the letter. Anything for you, love. Anything. Ellen finished the letter and handed it to the nurse to give to Stanley. She watched her hand it to him. The nurse then left the immediate area to give them a bit of privacy. Once the nurse moved out of the immediate view, Emily stood up from the chair and professed her love. I love you. Without hesitation, Ellen closed her eyes in order to not see Stanley's expression and dropped the robe. Stanley yelled out in horror and in disbelief. It was far worse than he could have imagined. Every part of him started to itch. He did not feel itchy from a physical external germ, but from the magnitude of what he saw. All the blood rushed from his face. Stanley looked extremely pale and ill all at once. Still with her eyes closed, Ellen knelt down carefully, grabbed the robe, and carefully placed it back on. A tear rolled down her eye as she heard Stanley gasp and scream. The salt in her tears stung the open wounds on her shoulders. With her eyes still pressed tightly, she turned around and walked toward the bed. Ellen opened her eyes only after turning around. She walked over to and got on to the bed to die. Once she laid on top of the bed, her feet became covered with sores, then her hands, and finally her face. Ellen made sure to never look at Stanley again. She wanted to remember the love in his eyes. She needed that strength and love for what she felt was coming next. In the final minutes of her life, she felt immense pain. Up until now, there was no pain, though no one could see it but her. In Ellen's mind, she imagined that hundreds of snakes were biting her. She felt every prick. She screamed and begged for them to stop, yet they did not stop. Looking on at Ellen as she thrashed about, it added yet another layer to an extremely disturbing image Stanley would live with for the rest of his life, for the time he had left to live. Stanley threw up inside the suit in panic. The nurse and staff rushed him to the decontamination room to clean himself. As the onset of the vivid hallucination mounted, Ellen held her eyes tightly closed and imagined one last time before her heart finally gave out. Emily died on the bed. She was barely recognizable.